Kathy flees after kiss with Harvey in EastEnders, but it's far from over. As viewers of the BBC soap know, romantic feelings have been bubbling under the surface for the pair following a brief romantic encounter last year. The first kiss occurred when Harvey turned to her for support in the wake of an argument with partner Jean Slater, who had vented her anger to him following an argument concerning Tommy Moon's abusive behavior. Kathy instigated the romance, and clearly they've both been on one another's minds ever since. Harvey has grown steadily more distant from Jean, from her refusing to disclose the fact she'd lost her life savings in an investment scam, to pushing him out of the plans for best pal Martin Fowler's funeral. He also made a kind gesture for youngster Lily Slater when he had Martin's old football jersey converted into a comforter for her daughter Charlie. Little did he realize, it was planned for the market trader to the buried in the team kit. Martin's grieving ex-wife Stacy didn't sympathize with his gesture, and unfortunately for Harvey, Jean took her side. Discussing the plot, actor Ross Boatman said, "Harvey is taking the death of Martin really hard. As is everybody. He's obviously very sympathetic towards the family and he understands the grief is greater than his, but it's hit him hard too. And he wants to support them and contribute in some way. At every turn he feels pushed aside. He doesn't really know which way to turn and everything he does feels wrong." In tonight's episode, he was chatting with Kathy in her cafe when Martin's other grieving ex-wife Ruby Allen arrived and told them both that the caterers had dropped out of the service. Jean suggested some local options, but Ruby wanted something more special. Her words left Harvey with food for thought, and he quickly suggested to Kathy that she could be the one that supplied the grub. Rushing home to tell Jean, he found her in a state of despair after a challenging night funeral planning with Ruby. He began to propose his idea of Kathy doing the catering, when Jean told him that they had managed to find an alternative supplier. Harvey subsequently returned to the cafe, to find that Kath had already made up a plate of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, Martin's favorite, and he had to break the news. She pretended that she wasn't hurt, but he could see deep down that she was upset. Later, he spoke with Alfie Moon about funerals and he reminded him that although the event itself is important, there are plenty of other ways to remember someone. Wanting to cheer Kathy up, Harvey decorated his allotment in lights and laid a perfect picnic table inside, complete with a loaf of bread and ample amounts of peanut butter and jam. When she arrived, she was taken aback by his thoughtfulness. The two sat down and spoke about recent events, and Kathy began to talk about being impulsive. So much so, she lunged forward and began to kiss Harvey. Realizing that she may have made a grave mistake, she quickly pulled back and darted out. Is there a romantic future ahead for Kathy and Harvey?
Nigel seeks support from an EastEnders legend as his memory worsens, and it's not Yolande. The Albert Square favourite returned to the area last year, and initially concealed his diagnosis from friends. Having opened up to Yolande Truman, she encouraged him to confide in old best pal Phil Mitchell. Nige was unable to find the right opportunity, and with Phil's mental health spiraling, he didn't want to burden him with more upset. It soon transpired that the stalwart was planning on taking his own life. And during the BBC soap's 40th anniversary celebrations last month, he aimed an unloaded gun at his head. Nigel, Grant Mitchell and Linda Carter rushed to Phil's side to support him, fearful for his future. Realizing that they could both do with someone to lean on in their hour of need, Nige confessed his own troubles. Phil was subsequently rushed into hospital to receive specialist support, though it has been decided by the wider family to keep the matter a secret. In upcoming scenes, Nigel's memory begins to decline. We've seen him rely on an alarm system to remind him of key events during the day. And on a number of occasions he has confused names of his nearest and dearest. A difficult day ensues, and when he returns home, he breaks down to Linda. Pressure is mounting for Billy Mitchell to tell Lexi where her grandfather Phil has gone, with his wife Honey imploring him to be honest. Later, Nigel accidentally slips up in front of the youngster, and Billy sees red. To make matters worse, Lexi later finds the suicide notes that Phil had prepared for his family. And Nigel confuses her further by referring to her as Claire. Long-term viewers will remember that Claire, played by Gemma Bissix, was the daughter of his first wife Debbie. After her untimely passing, Nige adopted her and raised her as his own. Lexi is full of emotion, and has become convinced that Phil is dead. She breaks down to Honey, and when the news reaches Billy, he is enraged with Nigel. Unable to escape the truth, Callum Highway prepares to tell Lexi everything. Nigel is devastated by his mistakes, and is further comforted by Linda. Later, having spoken to Billy, the pair head to the mental health unit with Callum and Lexi to see Phil again. Bad news reaches Walford about jailed EastEnders favourite. The character went to prison last year after setting fire to the cafe in an insurance scam. Unbeknownst to him, his wife Kathy Cotton was under pressure from the Six to get him out of the picture after he started asking awkward questions about the night of Keanu Taylor's death. Having found out about his insurance scam, Kathy reluctantly reported him to the police and Rocky was arrested and jailed. In the months since, fans of the BBC soap have seen Kathy battling her feelings for Rocky's best mate Harvey Monroe, with the pair even sharing a secret kiss last year. The pair came closer together again on Tuesday, after Kathy returned from visiting Rocky in prison. During a late-night heart-to-heart in the cafe, Kathy revealed to Harvey that Rocky was in a bad way when she saw him, having just been beaten up. She was also upset to find out he'd been gambling, and asked Kathy to transfer him money within minutes of her arrival. A heartbroken Kathy admitted to Harvey that she realized Rocky hasn't changed, as they then opened up to each other about their grief for Martin Fowler, who died in the Queen Vic explosion last month. Kathy and Harvey will only get closer as the week continues, as Harvey's partner Jean Slater continues to push him out. When Harvey arranges a picnic at the allotments for him and Kathy, one thing leads to another and they end up sharing another kiss. Will it be the start of a new Walford affair? Harvey's always had a thing for Kathy, says Ross Boatman, who plays him, but he buried that when she got with his best mate and he has a relationship of his own. So whether it goes anywhere or not remains to be seen.